Hello, law students and legal practitioners. Today, we will dissect the case of Felix Chua et al. Versus UCPB et al. GR number 215999 decided by the Supreme Court on August 16, 2017. Let's dive in. Here's the doctrine of the case. Novation results in the extinction of an old obligation by the creation of a new one, either by change in the object or principal conditions, substitution of the debtor, or subrogation of the creditor. When the parties expressly agree to consolidate all outstanding obligations into a single, definitive agreement that declares itself as the entire and exclusive agreement, prior obligations are deemed extinguished and replaced by the new agreement. A trustee who holds property in trust does not acquire ownership and has no authority to mortgage or encumber the trust property without the express written consent of the trustor. Any mortgage executed by a mere trustee in violation of the deed of trust is void ab initio and produces no legal effect. A banking institution is required to exercise a higher degree of diligence in its transactions due to the public interest involved. A bank that knowingly or negligently accepts property subject to a trust as mortgage security, without verifying ownership or authority, is deemed a mortgagee in bad faith and cannot invoke the protection accorded to innocent mortgages. Foreclosure proceeds must be applied strictly in accordance with the agreement of the parties. Where multiple obligations are secured, the proceeds must first satisfy the principal debtor's obligation, and only the excess, if any, may be applied to the obligations of third parties. Any deviation from the agreed mode of application constitutes a breach of contract and results in unjust enrichment. There is unjust enrichment when a person benefits without just cause at the expense of another. Equity will not allow property or money to be retained when its acquisition violates contractual stipulations and fundamental principles of justice. Here are the relevant facts of the case. Petitioner's spouses Felix and Carmen Chua owned multiple parcels of land in Lucena City, including a 44-hectare property. In 1997, they entered into a joint venture agreement, JVA, with Gotesco Properties, Inc., represented by Jose Go, for property development. As part of the arrangement, deeds of absolute sale were executed in favor of Revere Realty and Development Corporation, also controlled by Jose Go. To clarify that ownership had not transferred, the parties executed deeds of trust in 1998, expressly providing that Revere merely held the properties in trust for petitioners and was prohibited from mortgaging or disposing of them without petitioners' written consent. Separately, petitioners had existing loan obligations with United Coconut Planters Bank, or UCPB, secured by a real estate mortgage, REM, executed in 1997. On March 21, 2000, petitioners and UCPB entered into a memorandum of agreement consolidating all of petitioners' outstanding obligations into 204,597,177.04 pesos. Under the MOA, 30 parcels of land were conveyed to partially settle the debt, while the remaining 68 million pesos was to be converted into equity in LGCTI. To implement the MOA, petitioners executed a new REM drafted by UCPB. Unknown to petitioners, Jose Go, acting for Revere, executed another REM, Revere REM, over the trust properties to secure his own obligations and those of his companies. UCPB foreclosed both mortgages and applied a substantial portion of the proceeds to Jose Go's liabilities. When petitioners discovered this, they demanded accounting and reconveyance. Upon UCPB's refusal, they filed suit. The RTC ruled in favor of petitioners, but the Court of Appeals reversed. The case was elevated to the Supreme Court. The issues that the Supreme Court has resolved are as follows. Issue 1. Whether the petitioner's prior loan obligations extinguished by novation under the March 21, 2000 Memorandum of Agreement. Yes, the prior obligations were extinguished by novation through consolidation under the MOA. Novation occurs when there is an express agreement declaring the substitution or modification of the original obligation. Contracts that declare themselves as the entire and exclusive agreement supersede all prior agreements. The MOA expressly consolidated all petitioners' obligations into a single amount and declared itself the controlling agreement. All prior loans secured by the 1997 REM were absorbed into the consolidated obligation. Thus, the CA erred in holding that the 1997 REM separately subsisted. Issue 2. Whether the real estate mortgage executed by Revere valid and binding on petitioners. No, the Revere REM was void ab initio. A trustee cannot mortgage trust property without the express consent of the trustor. A contract executed by one without authority is void. The deeds of trust expressly prohibited Revere from mortgaging the properties without written consent from petitioners. No such consent was given. Consequently, the Revere rem was void and incapable of producing legal effects. Issue 3. Whether UCPB validly apply foreclosure proceeds to Jose Go's obligations ahead of petitioner's liabilities. No, the application of proceeds was improper and invalid. Foreclosure proceeds must be applied in accordance with the contract of the parties. A creditor must first satisfy the principal debtor's obligation before applying any excess to third-party debts. Under the MOA, Jose Go's obligations could be paid only from any excess after full settlement of petitioner's debt. UCPB instead prioritized Jose Go's liabilities, leaving petitioners with an alleged deficiency, in direct violation of the agreement. Issue 4. Whether there unjust enrichment on the part of UCPB and its assignee. Yes, unjust enrichment was present. Unjust enrichment exists when one party retains a benefit without legal justification at the expense of another. The foreclosure proceeds exceeded petitioner's consolidated obligation. Applying the excess to Jose Go's unproven liabilities and still claiming a deficiency from petitioner's unjustly enriched UCPB and asset pool A equity demanded the return and reconveyance of the properties. Thank you for listening and happy learning. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Legal Shepherd PH YouTube channel and click the notification bell to stay updated on newly uploaded cases and jurisprudence. See you again for our next case discussions.